Ευχαριστούμε θερμά, κύριε Υπουργέ.
Thank you very much, Minister. We are honored that you have you among us.
With the first presentation, and it is a great pleasure for me and the International Olympic Academy to introduce to you Associate Professor Alexis Lyras. His topic is on the subject Sustainable Academic Innovation Legacy for Tomorrow, preparing the next generation of Olympic education scholars and practitioners. Please welcome Professor Alexis Lyras to the podium.
Αξιότιμη κύριε Υπουργέ, κύριε Πρόεδρε, Dr. Γεωργιάδης, αγαπητοί φίλοι, it's a great honor and a great pleasure for being here, and I'd like to express my gratitude for giving me this opportunity in the opening day of this session to share some thoughts along the lines of the previous speakers that urge the need of finding more tangible ways to actualize the Olympic idea with praxis to address the challenges of the modern society. The main topic of this presentation is centered around a vision that aims to create a sustainable academic innovation legacy program that will connect Olympiads, not just certain Olympic Games, with the essence of the Olympic idea, which is about humanity in action. I've chose this first slide. That's a picture from the flame ceremony back in March 12, 2020. It was officially the first day of the pandemic. Since then, the world that we're facing today has changed. And in this new beginning, as we get out of this 3.5 years uncomfortable situation, it's up to us to have a new beginning based on foundations that will embrace the human spirit, the Olympic ideas, peace and prosperity. It's the first time as well that I'm visiting Olympic Academy, the Olympic Academy. But I would like to acknowledge to the person who's not with us anymore, Mr. Dinos Michailidis, since most of you, this is like a place that most of you have interacted with Mr. Dinos Michailidis. I consider him my mentor, the person that I was always looking up for inspiration and always having a dialogue to finding new ways of embracing a better understanding of Olympic idea through actions. I wanted to start this presentation with this slide, and the beginning of this program that we initiated last October was initiated on his birthday because we wanted to give a message that the body might go away, but the spirit and the Olympic spirit might remain. Please allow me to show a short video that captures this first symposium that we inaugurated as long-term sustainable academic legacy program in Cyprus. That was a tribute to his contribution, but also an inspiration for a way forward.
το έργο του οποίου είμαι βέβαιος πως δεν θα ξεχαστεί στην πατρίδα του, γιατί αποτελεί μοναδική Ολυμπιακή παρακαταθήκη, όπως δεν θα ξεχαστεί και από όλους εμάς στη Διεθνή Ολυμπιακή Ακαδημία η πολύχρονη και πολυεπίπεδη συμβολή του στο Ολυμπιακό κίνημα και την Ολυμπιακή παιδεία.
Θα ήθελα επίσης να συγχαρώ όλους όσοι εργάστηκαν για την εγκαθίδρυση του προγράμματος του Georgetown University Certificate, το οποίο έρχεται να εντάξει την Κύπρο δυναμικά στον χάρτη της ακαδημαϊκής διπλωματίας. Είμαι βέβαιος πως μέσα από την εκπαίδευση και την επαγγελματική τους κατάρτιση, οι νέες γενιές αποφύτων θα αποτελέσουν καθοριστικό παράγοντα στην προσπάθεια να μεταδώσουμε τις αρχές και αξίες του Ολυμπισμού και κατ' επέκταση να κάνουμε τον κόσμο μας καλύτερο.
So, going back to the main topic of our presentation of this session is to find innovative ways to build a better world. And in order to achieve that, we'll try to blend academic language, but also simple language, that will try to, in simple words, try to go back into the roots of the ancient Hellenic civilization and balance this world with the ideals that were lost in time and translation. In academic words, it's very important to see a more interdisciplinary background by utilizing applied sociology of sport, which is the discipline that not only understands the social phenomena around us, but also provides tangible solutions by creating champions of change and creating the ideal situations with evidence provided on the field, but also enriching these bodies of knowledge with bodies of knowledge that can help us understand current challenges that, like mutual radicalization, terrorism, the threats of democracy, which is the essence of the Olympic heritage. Over the last 20 years, my scholarship has been concentrating on balancing the management aspects of the Olympic education with data-driven interventions to provide evidence on how you test and trace change across communities that have been living in conflict, across communities that have faced adversity, and homeless and refugees. But at the same time, the second direction of my scholarship was also trying to identify those elements and conditions that are relevant to those positive outcomes. But why do we need so much academic language? I think by going back to the roots of the world, understanding that there are three main components, Olympics as a history, as heritage, that is an endless source of inspiration. The second component, which is humanity in our days. We can express humanity, but it's very important not only to express humanity in the sphere of ideas, but take action across agencies, which is one of the problems that we see, the Olympic divide between the ideas and practice. The vision of this new venture that I aiming to present today aims to provide a platform for a long-term academic legacy where we'll build an academic diplomacy venture that will bring professors across disciplines to embrace exactly those three components by embracing Olympism, humanity, and action. In other words, if we go back into making an attempt to decode the Olympic education is a synthesis of skills and competencies that blend physical literacy, change management, impact assessment, providing evidence for programs on the ground, but also providing cultural enrichment across regions of conflict. The new skills and competencies that the new sport managers or the Olympic education practitioners need to be exposed into different skills related to fundraising, grant proposal writing, related to educational topics, instructional designs, so that this will allow us to optimize current challenges, going back into the Sustainable Development Goals. And that's also reinforced by the Olympic Charter that defines that sport for development or Olympics in action is not irrelevant or is not a separate discipline. It's our duty to infuse these outcomes within our institutions, within the Olympic movement, within the sport agencies across the globe. So this might sound a very complicated process, but the ultimate goal of this process would be to embrace autonomy among diverse groups and individuals, provide multidimensional understanding across cultures and creativity to promote innovation for practices that we haven't found up to now. Through this presentation, I would like to go back into the heart of the inspiration of Pierre de Coubertin. I believe that it's very important to go back into the roots of the Olympic heritage, which on the right hand of this slide, you can see the word of ideas. So how we started this new civilization by Socrates, Plato, creating and visualizing the ideal, but also moving towards Aristotelian thinking, which is more epistemological thinking in providing evidence on the ground. In simple words, we try to decode this language with professional development training that we recently initiated in close collaboration with the International Olympic Academy, and provide training in 3 different groups. Provide training to academia, how they can decode this complexity of this heritage with courses across discipline, not only physical education, not only sport management, but across disciplines. But also provide training to youth under 20 and provide an open training opportunities to agencies that traditionally have not been engaged into Olympic education programs. We started this program on July 4th. That we provide a 30 hours training that gradually will build the Olympic literacy framework across agencies. The same program will be offered online, and we are trying to move beyond the ideas, but with more field programs on the ground. So why does this program matter? I will go back into the recent Olympic Games in Tokyo Games. And the reason why Japan got the Games was because they promised that it was a few years after tsunami that they would use these Olympic Games to address the challenges of the current challenges of our world, to restructure the tsunami-affected areas, and to restore the essence of the Olympic idea across the globe. That's the main idea what Japan got the Olympic Games, and they established a global venture to address this need. Unfortunately, the pandemic didn't allow us to actualize this program, and hope and the flame might not be enough. Because as we speak, we are facing one of the biggest crises in refugees, financial crisis, the war in Ukraine, and the result of these challenges that will escalate multiple problems across communities. A recent Google search on the Paris news, and I clicked on pictures, I saw flame, but actually not the Olympic flame. So this might be a sign that this forum that we're here today might be a good opportunity to rethink what else can we do. How can we revisit Olympic education to be more inclusive and to empower communities that traditionally have not been engaged and have not been involved in this democratic process. And a vision without a plan might become a daydreaming. That's why we need a plan with a vision to move towards our future. The vision of our program is to build a long-term academic legacy, building 7 academic Olympic education incubators across continents that will embrace exactly this essence of the integration of peace education, democracy actualization, and Olympics in action across agencies. Connecting, in other words, ancient and modern Olympic Games, not just the upcoming Games in Paris, but with a vision of more sustainable program. A little background about why I'm saying about this program. I was born and raised in Cyprus, and I personally faced war and division. I remember back in early 1974, using the power of sport to visit refugee camps back in my own country. And still, inspired by the power of sport to change communities, later on I followed coaching profession, but I still realized that the institution of sport needs to be infused with more programs that will break barriers of division, break memories of the past, and bring diverse communities together. This was the foundation of my PhD dissertation, trying to visualize a more interdisciplinary background with extreme right, extreme left, Turkish Cypriot, Greek Cypriot, very diverse communities that traditionally have never had any opportunity to interact together in the past, but also create an Olympic camp that will change them into champions of change. Promote, as I mentioned before, this autonomous, multidimensional creativity. In simple terms, I was able to secure funding to integrate teaching, research, and service, starting from Olympic Solidarity and later on from European Union and United Nations, to design those interventions to provide replicable projects that by evidence can serve as a peace-building platform on the ground, not just in the sphere of ideas, but provide evidence and be able to test and trace the change over time and space. This was achieved by utilizing a mixed methods design with qualitative and quantitative methods and providing evidence on scales like social perspective taking, how you bring extreme groups together and make them, help them think and care beyond self, think of the other side. But that's not enough. By start thinking and caring about the other side, you start setting goals together that are relevant to our society and believe that they can serve as champions of change in their respective communities. So the second main scale that we're assessed through these programs is the efficacy, the belief that I will serve as an agent of change and I will go through walls to initiate and pursue change in my community. All these projects were integrating a detailed reporting system in order to be able to replicate these initiatives in other communities. In simple words, this visual representation can give you how, and this was pictures from the first time that diverse groups from both communities got together, that interacted and started building friendships, creating their own newsletters, newspapers and newsletters, creating filmmaking teams like a small community, creating action plans, visiting homeless NSOS shelters, creating treasure hunt ventures that were funded by the European Union, navigating in old Nicosia, where they learned the history and the diversity of their history, but also building initiatives about the environment, climate action, and writing grants in very young age. Even from very young age, 15-year-old children from Greek Cypriot and Turkish Cypriot communities were implementing projects, writing grants, and initiating and implementing programs on the ground. Creating, in other words, this small democratic and inclusive community. Later on, during my first academic job, I transferred this knowledge back in Louisville to institutionalize these Olympism in action projects on the ground by empowering students to run their own programs. Running programs in Louisville with refugees, with homeless youth, but also running programs in Botswana, in Trinidad, and creating service learning projects across communities. So this cosmos of ventures and programs that range from academia to 12-year-old, 15-year-old are replicable projects that can provide models that, by evidence, can improve society one community at a time. So why does this matter? I think all these words might be good, might be enough, but the most important thing is to see how this presentation or this interaction that we'll be having over the next few days might be relevant to your context. So through this presentation, I would like to ask you what might be the current challenges in your community. Is it something related to conflict? Is it something related to refugees, homeless? And what can we do to embrace exactly those objectives? And I would like to open the floor for discussion. Yes.
So I would like to thank Alexis, Lyras, on behalf of the International Olympic Academy for his informative, thoughtful presentation. We want this year to present good practice to you. So, and I give you the floor now to ask questions. Who is going to start first? Any questions? Please, could you... Το μικρόφωνο, παρακαλώ. Just wait for the microphone, please.
Thank you, Professor, for your very nice and thoughtful presentation, all in all.
Can you tell us your name and your country, please?
Lebanon, Hassan Khashfe from Lebanon.
Thank you.
The terminology or the concept of sustainable development has been lingering around for quite some time now. Different people, different disciplines approach it differently. The way you presented your research seems excuse my expression, too good to be true in these regards, especially at times where conflicts are hitting left and right. You mentioned refugees, displaced people and stuff like that. How were you able to manage such concepts at these different difficult times?
Thank you. What I just showed you is a journey of more than 20 years programming. This foundation was all my PhD work, so I was lucky to get the opportunity to get more courses about applied sociology of sport, understand the complexity. But before going for a PhD, I served in the sport industry for 12 years. So I was familiar with the sport industry and the sports sector, so the good and the bright and the positive and the negative aspects. So I started my PhD not only with a very clear objective of having what I call social medicine, being able to understand the complexity of a program, but also secure funding to run small pilot programs to provide evidence that you can measure positive change in small community, one community at a time. So the small evidence created a snowball effect with replicable materials for over 7 years, creating Olympic camps like an incubator of change. It was creating these small communities of champions that from diverse communities. I had people from extreme right, from extreme left, that have nothing to do with sport, people that loved arts and theater or had nothing to do with the Olympic idea. In that sense, being able to recruit such a diverse community was the beauty of this program, because everything was documented to be able to transfer this knowledge, as we call social medicine, the prescription in a different dosage, to give the same dosage in a different context. So it's transfer knowledge. Everything was documented, everything had scholarship behind it, and gradually was built over the course of 20 years.
Thank you, both of you. Before we go to the second question, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Spiros Zanias, the Vice President of the International Olympic Academy, and Professor Bouras, the Rector of the University of Patras. Any other questions? Please, yes. Sanjay.
Sanjay Guptan, Mauritius. First of all, thank you, Professor Lyras, from this very impactful presentation, which bring me, first of all, back to the speech of the President, who mentioned that Olympiads découverte main motive in bringing back the Olympic Games were the humanitarian vision that he actually had for the society. And I'm still pondering, 125 years from then up to now, we are still struggling about this aspect. And I was just wondering, so where have we failed? If we had already had the industrial revolution, we had the economical revolution, when will we have the humanitarian revolution? From what you have just presented in your vision of 2040, I hope that sport will bring what we call the sport humanitarian revolution. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your good comments. And I think I'm not qualified to say where we failed. What I can recommend, though, is that we cannot continue the next 125 years in the same way. And there's such a wealth of knowledge and academic and evidence and bodies of knowledge that can help us. I'm not saying I have the only solution. There's many scholars in this room that are doing amazing projects all over the world. What I'm suggesting is that we need to bring more academic, scientific knowledge, more interdisciplinary knowledge, but also create a platform that will allow us to scale our impact and outreach by providing an ecosystem that will, by evidence, embrace exactly those objectives. I think most of the times we lose our sight about what our objective is. There was a lot of discussion about sport for development that is different from sport development, or development is irrelevant with Olympic studies or Olympism. That's very problematic. I think we should see everything as one, our society as one, and concentrate back with reverse engineering, not what program you want to address, but what solution do you want to address, what problem do you want to address, and how can we help you as an academic community, as a diverse community that can embrace one problem at a time.
Thank you very much, both of you. Any other questions? One more.
Thank you, Alexis, for mentioning my great friend, Dinos Michailidis. I'm provoked from your presentation because I know Dinos very well, and I know that he was a fighter for freedom.
He was, sorry, yes.
Fighter for freedom. And my question is, and my trouble also is, we know how to teach the young generation in the Olympic values, but I have also the problem how to teach them to keep the values of freedom, because freedom is very, very important. We do not want slaves. And how many children live in slavery, and how we can help them through sport to educate them, to build up values of freedom and the dignity of the personality. This is my question, and you provoked with your lecture this topic for me. What's your opinion? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I think freedom, I would go back into the autonomy, and I think there are many programs that, very few programs that actually embrace in the sport industry those objectives. And it's up to us to see how we enrich with the Olympic Academy and with new bodies of knowledge. There's human development theory, there's social psychology theory, there's conflict resolution theory, and there are many programs that have been dealing with these questions for quite a while. It's just that the sport industry or the sport studies were not concentrating or infusing this body of knowledge in their curricula. It's our duty to see how we can learn from other disciplines and make them relevant to the sport experience, because we just tend to replicate exactly how we create cheerleaders of the system versus creating champions of change, which is what the Olympic idea is about.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? So there are not more questions. There is one lady.
Yes.
Thank you. Wakako Yuki from Japan Olympic Academy.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa. Thank you for your presentation. Wonderful. I'm by trade a journalist, and I have been to Cyprus, went to those border area where war torn down, evidence are still there. And I value what you have tried to do for those 20 years, using sport to change people's mind and society. Your assessment, my question is on your assessment to, assessment to Tokyo Olympic Games. And yes, we did have some vision, but unfortunately it went kind of astray because of the pandemic. And what felt keenly in me, devastated me, was the pre-Olympic Games discussion within our society, whether or not we should hold the Olympic Games at all, whether or not sports has any priority in our lives, where life and death situation arise. I didn't have answer to that. But of course, I did believe in my whole life there is value in sport and in Olympism, and I would like to try to spread it. But then again, in those situations, in pre-Olympic Games time, the precious time in Tokyo or Japan, people are discussing seriously, do we need it? What is your assessment there? Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I'm very grateful I had the opportunity to work with ITIAS, with Sanada Sensei, for 6 years. And it was a life-changing experience because we in West think that there's no other way. And I learned so many things, the richness of the Japanese culture, the kindness and the beauty of their people. And I'm very grateful for that. And I think it's very unfortunate because all the expectations and all the it was anticipation of experiencing amazing Olympic Games in Japan did not happen because of pandemic. But in my sense, this program that you just showed you before, the initial plan was to start with Hiroshima and Fukushima, and start with a 10 days program that we talk about peace building. Let's go to Hiroshima, understand the complexity of conflict. Let's go to Fukushima to understand the relationship between climate change and nuclear power, but also stay in Tokyo for innovation. We will not forget Tokyo, and that's why what I suggest is a long-term sustainable legacy that will build an Olympic literacy that will go back to Japan, will go back and forth and establish this universal system that will optimize exactly what you envision for your country. I would like to take the opportunity to thank the Japanese government for giving me this opportunity to work with Japan. But also, I would like to invite everybody, and maybe we have a session at some point in Japan with Sanada Sensei, and other scholars, exactly to give this opportunity for this session to embrace those objectives. Arigato.
Thank you very much.
Ποιος?
Παρακαλώ, το μικρό εδώ μπροστά.
Congratulations, Professor, on amazing research. Would you be open and support a system where we take this amazing research you've created with a vision of championship for change and creating a system which truly will embrace sustainability? And if we could define sustainability while we try to balance economic, social, and environmental change in the world, because it's a very delicate world that we're in. The President's opening statement, and how can I not mention a little bit about this war? And you mentioned the COVID, and a very difficult situation we're in. Difficult situations call for change. We cannot keep doing, the world is not heading in the right direction. So would you be a participant and a supporter of change that would also help our children through this platform in Olympia bring out education and programs to make it sustainable through education for entrepreneurship?
I love it, and your passion is very obvious, and your sense of purpose is very inspiring. 200% yes. And everything that what we do in academia is produce knowledge, not to keep it in our desk, but actually to make it relevant and make it open to the society. And the aim of this vision is to create academic champions of change, build those academic agencies that share the same language, share exactly the same competency framework, and these training frameworks and replicable projects that can exactly serve as incubators of change and scale up, the impact across communities. With your support and a shared vision, This is exactly what we're trying to achieve with the horizon of 2028 in Los Angeles. This could be a good goal that we can set and move beyond that.
Well, I didn't introduce myself because I didn't know how you were going to answer that question, so let me introduce myself now. My name is Sotirios Christos Stathopoulos, 8th generation Greek, also go by Sam Stathis. Tomorrow I celebrate 54 years in America. I've had a very privileged life to have come from barefoot to go to America, live in the American dream, and bringing back certain wisdom and knowledge. I was the creator, and not the only creator, but one of the steamrollers behind the vision of New York City and New York State, where we created a $500 million fund to promote entrepreneurship and new business in New York. That started in 2012. It was called Startup New York. I propose, with this acceptance and the support I know we have from our president, and today the great presence of having our secretary, I'm sorry, our minister here, we have everybody in the group that we need, private, public, to bring this forward. And I would like to propose, I'd like to be a copycat. I'd like to start Startup Olympia, Startup International programs modeled after entrepreneurship, and I would put the first seed money as much as required to help that happen. And I thank you for accepting and supporting, because academia and all of this research would not be very valuable in our pockets. Let's get it out to the community, let's get it out to our young ambassadors, and let's get it out to the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I will embrace that, and I would like to see how we can even follow up in Washington, D.C., and actually to also mobilize the U.S. diaspora and actually scale up exactly this objective.
We'll see you in Washington.
Okay, see you there.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank both of you. Any other questions? If there are no more questions, I would like to thank Alexis one more time on behalf of the International Olympic Academy.
If you allow me one clarification from Lebanon, I understand that it's a very difficult situation, and I can feel your pain. I don't have the perfect solution. What I suggest is that we need a platform for more synergies to scale up exactly programs that we know they work, to apply them on the ground with more evidence on the ground. So I'm next to you, anything you need to support you. Thank you.
Alexis, thank you very much for your inspiring speech and for all the answers given. There are no magic solutions, as you understand. What we can is just keep trying, keep trying, and how we can try, of course, the Academy is here, and you are the ambassadors. You are the people who are going to transpire all this to your countries. So we cannot give up. We talked about the wars, we talked about the truce. I remember 2 times I was in Olympic Games, and during the truce period, some wars, were started. So what is the meaning of truce? Are we satisfied to say that we are a truce movement? And how the truce is served if we sign the agreement for the truce and the next days when the Olympics starts, there is an invasion. Yeah. And they're not only official war invasions, there are conflicts, and there are many conflicts going around in the world, and civil conflicts, which are the worst of all. So how this can be overcome? The sport is a great tool for the, for inspiring the peace, not for imposing the peace. We cannot impose the peace, but we can inspire. And sport, what sport means, because sport means, Olympism means, 2 main important issues, which are culture, education, and sport, of course. So via the education, via the Olympic values and the Olympic, the Olympic education, we can inspire the people for the future, for our kids, for our grandsons. And we are all together. We are the same. We are the same family, and we have this platform which we have to expand it all over the world. And I really want to thank all of you, each of you all, for your kindness to be here and stay with us for this session. Discuss, because Academy is a place there is always open debate. Academy was the first place open debate was allowed for the athletes, and that was back, I think, 81.
81 was the place, the first place, and President Bach was at the time a participant as a young ambassador representing athletes, and he made a speech saying that thank you Academy, because Academy was the first place the open and free debate was allowed. So through this open and free debate, we can achieve a lot of things. So let's move on. We deserve that for us and for the next generators. So, thank you very much and keep trying. We are going together.
So I would suggest now to follow me to the still of Baron Pierre de Coubertin. Please follow us to the still.